Well, here we are again, girls, having these tough talks. You know, we don't quote says, we don't change, we don't grow, we don't move forward without doing the work. So we must talk about the things that get in the way. Some of the things that get in the way are fear, shame, and our resistance to vulnerability. So, strong black women, let's talk about it. Man, so I want to focus on shame. I feel like if fear, shame, and vulnerability are things that get in the way of us being our best selves, if we tackle shame, we'll overcome many of our fears and we'll touch our vulnerability in the places that need it the most. So let's talk about some shame, y'all. Um, we have an image. Black girl magic.
Nothing like the black
sparkles
girl
all
magic.
around
Right. Sprinkles.
Sprinkles.
And the strong black woman image is very valid. You agree?
Yes.
We all strong.
Yes.
We all have had to be strong. Let me tell you,
That's good points.
disclaimer. I never wanted to be strong. I didn't. I had no choice in the matter. From as far back as I can remember, I had to be strong. I don't think that I would have made it if I wasn't strong. But that doesn't mean that my imperfections were inadequacies. So I didn't get it right, but that doesn't mean that I'm flawed. It just means that I'm me, right?
Yeah.
So we're trying to establish shame resilience. And what that means is we're identifying number one, and then we're taking the necessary steps to overcome issues of shame in our lives. And so one of the things that black folks in general don't like to talk about, don't like to address, don't like to identify themselves with is mental health issues.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
Nope.
I'm going to tell you straight up, when I was growing up, I cannot ever remember a time that terminology was used.
Never.
Mental health, mental illness, mental disorders. We never used those words. We never talked about diagnoses. We never talked about bipolar, schizophrenia, PTSD. None of those things were talked about. The first time I heard about PTSD was in relation to Vietnam vets. And that's all I heard about. That's all I heard about it. Never talked about counseling, never talked about getting therapy, none of that. And my first encounter or need for counseling was court ordered. Yeah. So we don't have enough time to go into why I was court ordered.
I want to know.
But to make a very long story short, got into an ugly custody fight with my ex. And some allegations of child abuse were made in one of the tactics to get full custody of my kids. And they were taken. And it took 9 months to get 2 of them back and over a year to get the third one back. But I had children's services knocking on my door all through the night, busting in my house, taking my kids in rooms, questioning them about my parenting, this, that, and the third. They got dragged out like the scene in Color Purple with Celie in it.
That's PTSD right there.
Oh, yeah. That's PTSD right there. But that, when we went to court and I was trying to get them back, they gave me a list of things that I had to do. One was individual counseling. One was family counseling. The other one was anger management. And I said, I ain't got no problems with anger.
You're not angry.
I raise my kids. I go to work every day. I go to church 5 nights a week. I'm saved. What you mean, anger management? But through those sessions, discovered that my anger wasn't really anger. It was really rooted in fear and pain. Start chopping down those layers of fear and pain, and found out that there was a whole lot of shame there. Well, what you ashamed of? Then then I start opening up about I was molested as a child.
Yeah.
Then I was abandoned as a child. Then I had verbal and emotional and physical abuse for many, many, many years. And that's why I chose this, and that's why I do this. Anyway, long story short, I found out that this whole stigma about counseling and getting therapy was some hogwash, for lack of better words, because we need it.
Listen.
And it was through that counseling that I was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder. And I'm going to tell you straight up, when they said that I had post-traumatic stress disorder, I stopped going to counseling for a while, because I was like, excuse my French, these niggas got me fucked up. I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy. I ain't been in no war. I never gangbanged. Like, what are you talking about? I don't have PTSD.
Right.
But then through the sessions, they started explaining more, helping me understand more about the disorder and associating it with the current symptoms that I'm dealing with. So when I start talking about I'm scared of the dark, counselor said, you do know that that's not a normal pattern of behavior. At night, when you go to bed, you get comfortable, you turn the lights out, you let your body rest, because that's the only way you're going to get to REM sleep. You have the lights on, TV on, it's disturbing your REM sleep, and you're not actually allowing your body to fully rest. Okay, yeah, whatever. Why don't you sleep in the dark? Now we got to get more in my business. So anyway, they start asking me more and more stuff that made me identify, okay, what I thought, because I kept answering like, that's normal, right? Every time I say something, I would end it with, that's normal, right? And she started saying, well, let's not use the word normal. Let's just use the word healthy and unhealthy. When she started saying that, because she read reports that said your children said that you yell and curse. That's normal, right?
That's
like,
what we
you
do.
if you got some
Black
kids,
parents do.
I was about to say, if you have a black parent, that's normal.
right? You have some kids. You got my kids. You got baby kids. You gonna yell. You gonna cuss. But then she started saying that no, that's unhealthy behavior. Like a healthy adult has healthy communication, can balance their emotions, stays in control of their mood, this, that, and the third. And I started saying, well, I would ride home and be saying, damn. And trying to figure out, how do I change this person? Like, you trying to change me? Well, anyway, long story short, the more information I got, the more tools I got to to have a more healthy lifestyle, I realized that I had a lot of damage in my past. And at first I tucked it. Even after my counseling, even after I got my kids together, I was like, I love the Lord and He can fix it all.
That is the number one tragedy.
Right. And that's what I went with for some years. But a lot of things, and I should say this, I got really good at public image. But like my pastor said, you could be a public success and a private failure.
Yeah.
So I was still yelling, cussing my kids out, socking them, living a very dysfunctional life behind closed doors. But in front of people, I was good at putting on.
You well
I still am good at putting on.
That imposter syndrome.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to get to that in a minute. But long story short, I learned also, because I was like, okay, I'm going to do what y'all tell me to do. I'm not taking no pills, though. I'll do what you tell me to do. I'm not taking no pills, but I'll do whatever therapy, whatever counseling. I'll read your books. I'll listen to your tapes. I'll do all of that if it's going to make me better and if I could be a better mother for my kids. So because I started learning that for probably my kids 32, I'm just being graceful with it. Maybe 25 years of their lives, I withheld love. And I started seeing the damage of that, because when you get to ask them, I would be very hurt by their response on my parenting. Because I'm thinking, I take care of you niggas. Are you crazy? I go to work when I don't want to go to work. I go to work sick. I go to work depressed. I go to work tired. I take y'all to church. I'm trying to train up the child in the way they should go so when they get older, they won't depart from it. I'm trying to have a man around here. Who cares what kind of man he is? It got a man up in here. Got a man up in here. I'm trying to line stuff up. And y'all talking about I ain't, what? And so at some point, I started being more of a listener. I'm still not the best listener, but I started being more of a listener and understanding that, yeah, Tanisha, you got a lot of stuff to work on. And yeah, you're not as normal as you'd like to think of. And in my family, before I let you go, Leonka, because I'm going to get out of this post-traumatic stress disorder, I feel triggers. But
talking about it and you're like,
I'm starting to feel away. But what was I going to say? I just had a brain fart.
Growing up, you said growing up with your family?
Yeah. That's what I was going to say. Growing up, if you had any issues with depression or you expressed anything that is what would now be labeled as schizophrenia or bipolar, or they say, go sit your crazy ass down. That's for white folks.
Right.
Am I the only one that has heard that over the years?
Yes, but not in my family, but yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So that was the answer to stuff. You better pray about it.
That part.
Yeah.
I want to pick up there. That's where I want to
Okay. So, what, sis? There's no better time.
So I am a Christian. I love Jesus. I am a praise and worship leader. Like go to church on Tuesday for Bible study, go to church on Sunday. But God told me you also need medication, and you also need a therapist, and you also need a psychiatrist.
Come on now.
And it's one of those things where I was praying, and I was like, God, this is not going to work. I can't keep living like this. I literally cannot keep living like this.
And what's like this?
Oh my gosh. I am diagnosed bipolar 2, which is, I go hypomanic, which isn't quite manic, but my depression is really, really bad.
Help
so it's
the people
very
understand
suicidal.
manic.
So manic, if I can give you an example of like someone, the best way to give an example is like a character in a movie or a TV show. So for example, Carrie in Homeland, she is bipolar 1, where manic looks like you are completely focused on this one thing and obsessed with it and you cannot let it go.
Okay.
You don't sleep for days, you don't eat for days, you're just going, and you're really talking like this, that's manic.
Okay.
I didn't get quite there. I got to like a hypomanic where I was waking up at 6:00 on the weekends. That's not me. I sleep. I love to sleep. I take naps during the day.
Okay.
I was waking up on Saturday mornings after I had finished working a 60-hour week. Waking up on Saturday morning, going to Pilates, doing my laundry, everything's done by 12 o'clock. That's not me. That's not in my character, right? I'm not lazy, but I'm very laid back. Okay. Writing things that are like very, I can't think of the word that they use, but there's a and the Dr. Morrow can say, but there's a way where you feel like you can accomplish anything.
Okay.
I describe it within myself as I have so many brilliant ideas and they within me and they don't agree with each other. So they battle to try to get executed.
In your mind?
In my entire spirit, body, soul, everything. Right? So I have a million brilliant ideas.
Okay.
But they battle within each other to get executed. So then instead of me trying to execute one thing, nothing gets executed.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Because it completely shuts me down. So then when that happens, I start to feel bad about myself. So then that manic spirals. And then it spirals into depression.
Wow. And what do you do with that? What is
well,
that
now
like?
I'm managed.
Okay.
But before you spiral into depression, I had certain friends that I could call that would come stay with me.
Okay.
And they just knew, and they would just come stay with me, and I sleep.
Okay.
And even now when it happens, I sleep. I can sleep for days. Really. I can sleep for days. If something's really, really bothering me or something's really triggering me, and even now on medication, completely managed, I can still sleep for days. I now, though, sleep medicated. So I used to, when I was originally diagnosed, I was, let me take a step back. I was going to church. I was on a high. I was doing a reality show at the time with Kamora Lee Simmons for my job. I was working crazy hours, plus I was doing the show. I was sleeping maybe 2 or 3 hours a night. I'd wake up in the middle of the night, sending emails, text messages of things I thought I forgot. And it was probably like a Monday or something. It was in June of 2013.
Okay.
I woke up and I was like, oh, I'm going to die. I'm going to die. And so I called my sissy, and she was like, my sissy is a friend that is very close, not my sister. I said, I need you to come over. She was like, I'm on my way to Beyonce concert. Can you go to someone else? Can Tanisha come over? My sister, my other Tanisha. Can you go to your mom's? I was like, I can go to my mom.
Okay.
I called my mom, and I was like, do you have any Ativan? Now, you talking about your family and like, oh, sit down, whatever. You didn't talk about things. We didn't talk about things in our family, but Ativan was always around.
Really?
Child.
Really?
Child. My
So
grandmother.
you could medicate.
We had Ativan.
I got something
So
for
was
you.
it-
I got something for you.
We had Ativan in our family.
What?
So it wasn't just you that probably had
Oh no. Once it was all uncovered, it's on both sides. There's depression and anxiety on my mom's side. There's bipolar, schizophrenia on my dad's side. My dad's side covered it up with drug abuse.
Yes.
So my dad is
Yes.
1 out of 12 kids.
Yes.
All of them had some sort of addiction, whether it was alcohol, weed,
That's what it
crack,
is. Undiagnosed.
whatever. All of them,
undiagnosed.
there was not one of them.
Undiagnosed,
Yes.
untreated mental
Yes.
health disorders are usually blanketed with
Yes.
substance abuse.
So it's actually 4 things. It's substance abuse, it's gambling or shopping, it's sexual indiscretions, which was me.
some type of addiction.
But there's some sort of
Addictive
addiction
behavior.
that you're trying to fill the void with. I didn't do drugs because I saw it in my family. I'm deathly afraid of drugs. I didn't do shopping or gambling because I don't know. I don't feel like gambling to me is like I'm spending money. Like I'm not the girl
I'm
that
not a
goes to
gambler
Vegas. I'm
either.
not a gambler,
I'm not
right?
either.
But sex was that void, that intimacy. That's I still struggle with that, right? But it was that I was very promiscuous as a child. I lost my virginity when I was 13.
I would never get see. You
I
cannot
lost my-
judge a book by their cover.
I lost my virginity when I was 13
Not the
years
praise
old.
and worship leader.
Listen. She was a hoe. She was a ho-ho. And it's okay.
It's
right?
okay.
It's okay. It's okay.
Is it okay?
It's okay with me.
It's okay, right? And even if I look at like the shame of it, right? To say I lost my virginity when I was 13, or
But to be quite frank, I was 14, so I was right there with
or
you.
looking
I
at
was
my
13. I didn't think. I thought
I
that
don't
was
think
good.
and I thought I was like I was the last one out of all my friends, and I was like I gotta get rid of this, right? But
Right.
it's stuff that we're not gonna talk about.
We don't talk
right?
about it.
So for me, it was sexual promiscuity, and I went over to my mom's house. She gave me Ativan. I went to sleep. I was fine. I woke up in the morning. I was like, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die. Ran to my dad, and I was like, Daddy, you got to take me to the hospital. I'm gonna die. And he was like, no. He was like, why don't let's smoke some weed. I said, it is 6:00 in the morning. I am not smoking weed with you. You have to take
And
me
you have the parents who smoke the bud.
right,
Me too.
Right.
Me
He
too.
literally said, let's smoke some weed. I said,
I got
Daddy.
something for you. I got the medicine right
This will
here.
calm you
It come from the
down.
earth. Come from the earth.
I said, Daddy, I am not smoking weed. Like, you have to take me to the hospital. He said, if I take you to the hospital the way you are right now, they're going to put you on a 5150. I'm not taking you to the hospital. So he gave me some tea. I know there was some weed in that tea because I was knocked out, right? That wore off. I woke up. Daddy, you got to take me to the hospital. He's like, he called
you
my
couldn't
sister.
get out of manic.
He called my sister. He said, you have to come over here. I do not know what to do with
Couldn't
your
get out of
sister.
manic.
So they're in the, finally got me on more Ativan, and I'm literally just in a comatose basically. And they're going over pages and pages of psychiatrists to try to get me in to see me immediately. Because at this point I was like, I don't care what it takes.
Yeah.
I am not right, and I need help, right? Finally got me to see a psychiatrist. Went in, and she said, oh, I need to take you off work. That's the first thing I need to do because that is the main thing.
Wow.
Right? So she took me off of
Stress.
work. That was the first thing. She took me off of work for 7 weeks. You cannot diagnose bipolar on a first visit. It takes months because you have
Why?
you have to see the ups and downs.
You do.
You can't- I
You
can't-
Put you in the
do.
manic
Wait a minute,
state.
Leonka. That's why some people get diagnosed with depression, and some people get diagnosed with anxiety.
I was
When they-
Wow.
Wow, because they don't watch
They
the
don't see the
trend,
whole-
You have to. You
picture.
have
That's
to.
good.
So
stuff.
she knew from day one. No, she knew from day 2. So I was going to see her twice a week. That's how bad I was. So the first time I went out, like my hair, my sister was, I was wearing these like cornrows, and my sister was like, "Oh my God, you are not yourself." I had like sweats. I was very disheveled,
Yeah,
right? So the
yeah.
first time I'm like crying. I'm just like, oh. So she takes me off work. She puts me on Lexapro.
Okay.
And I said, okay. The first week I'm on Lexapro, I'm like, oh my God, why didn't I do this a long time ago?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
It just, I
Yeah.
felt lighter. There
Yeah,
was a lightness
yeah.
that I felt, right? Next time she sees me, I'm complete opposite. And she's like, so she said she wrote in her notes, maybe bipolar. I'm complete opposite. And she's like, oh, well, what's going on? I was like, well, my brother, which is my pastor, my brother is back in town. I'm going to go see him. And da-da-da. She's like, oh, okay, so you have something to look forward to. And I was like, yeah. And she was like, great, I love this. She's like, okay, we'll see you on Thursday. By Thursday, I had already crashed again. And she was like, okay, how is the medication working? I said, I'm not sleeping because I had PTSD from my job. So I was waking up in the middle of the night cursing. I could not sleep alone. I was sleeping in the bed with my mom. And I wake up in the middle of the night, fuck you! Because I'm having
Wow.
dreams about people at my
Wow.
job, right? So in that
Wow.
anger, that lasted for years. Years that was having these recurring
Oh my
dreams.
God, I'm getting
And I would have
emotional
these
right now.
recurring dreams that I was having these recurring dreams that I was getting fired, and then they'd hired me back, and then they'd fire me again. These are the recurring dreams that I was having. So then she put me on a mood stabilizer. And my sister was like, well, why is she putting you on that? Because this says it's for bipolar and schizophrenic, and you're not that.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know. She was like, So I took it, and when I first time I took this mood stabilizer, I took it, and I'm sitting there, and then I was doing something, and I looked at my mom, and I was like, I gotta go to sleep because my brain was shutting down. Like,
Really?
got
You
to
could
go
feel
to-
it?
I could feel it.
Wow.
My brain was shutting down. You gotta go to
Was
sleep.
the med too strong?
It was too strong, so I was like, oh, I think I'm gonna take a half. And she said, that's fine. So I would take a half, and it would help me sleep. So then I would go, and she's like, okay, your anxiety is gone, you're sleeping better, but you're still depressed. And I was like, yes. She said, okay, we're gonna put you on Wellbutrin. So we got me on a little cocktail.
Okay.
I said, okay. That was immediately, I had good results. I actually had bad results because I was on generic, and then she had to put me on the brand. And then I had good results, right? So I had my little cocktail, good enough where I could go back to work.
Okay.
Before I went back to work, she actually diagnosed me when I had the bad reaction to the non-brand Wellbutrin.
Okay.
I had crashed so bad. She was like, this doesn't make sense. She said, number 1, I think you're bipolar. Number 2, I'm going to put you on the brand. She switched that, and I was better. When she diagnosed me bipolar, my mom was so scared.
Was she? Why?
Depression was okay.
But not bipolar.
Anxiety was okay,
But not.
but not bipolar.
It's a stigma.
but not bipolar.
It's a stigma.
And she kept saying, why do you keep telling everybody that you're diagnosed? I was telling everybody. Lila, I was telling everybody, I'm bipolar. I was so happy. I'm bipolar.
Right, I know now. There's a word for it.
I
was
understand
like,
what's going on.
I
Right,
understand what's going
right,
on.
right.
I can deal with
Right.
this. I'm bipolar. I
Right.
was so happy.
Right.
I was so happy. I was like, I finally understand what the fuck is wrong with me.
Right. Give it to me. Understanding what's wrong.
I finally understand.
I
and
understand me.
You're
I
right.
understand me. And then I started like
Understand
looking.
me.
I was like, oh my God, yes.
Yes.
And on the spectrum of it, I'm not over here like I'm over here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's people that, like for instance, with the Seroquel, which is the mood stabilizer, there's people that are like on 300 milligrams of it.
Yeah.
I cut that sucker into
Yeah.
quarters. I'm
Yeah.
on like 6.25
Yeah.
of it, and
Yeah.
that's like perfect for me,
Yeah.
right? So on the spectrum of it, I'm over here.
Yeah.
But I still was like, oh, I'm bipolar.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
And it wasn't
Yeah.
even that's what's wrong with me. It was that's what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, it has a name now.
It has a name now.
Yes.
And from that day, I literally was able to manage it in a way where I've never been able to. I have never been as healthy as I am since that day. I prior to that, it was almost like a reawakening. When I woke up and I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna die. My body felt like it was gonna break into a million pieces, like shatter into glass, right? So I felt like it actually did shatter into glass and the real me came out because I was never the same. Imposter syndrome. I was going to work like, oh, every corporate America wants a Michelle Obama because it was 2008,
Yeah.
2009,
Yeah.
2010,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Every corporate America wants a Michelle Obama. That's what I'm going to give them. My hair was like Michelle. I dressed like Michelle.
Yeah.
And that was a fake, that wasn't me.
Yeah.
This is me. Birkenstocks, Crocs,
Yeah. Yeah.
big flouncy,
Yeah.
frocks or whatever, big hair.
Yeah.
Trying to wear big hair when you're working with white girls.
You don't have to tell me.
No.
You don't have to tell me.
I was so skinny. They were skinny. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm so fat.
Yeah.
Yep.
You couldn't tell me I was
Yes.
ugly. No
Yes.
one can ever tell me I was ugly.
Well, that would be a lie.
Listen,
that would
no
be
one
a
can
lie.
ever tell me I'm ugly. Andrew was like, well, how can someone tell you you're fat and you believe them, but now you're ugly? I was like, that's a lie.
no,
lying.
not ugly.
You're lying. But I was like, I'm so fat. I was like a size 6, but they were a size 2.
That
Right?
dysmorphia.
So working with those white girls, I felt so this imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
I couldn't be myself.
Yeah.
So when I came back to work, I was a completely different person, and I couldn't even maneuver with them.
How were your coworkers identifying the new Leonka?
They couldn't.
It's like,
Well, there's two things. They couldn't really figure it out because
did they know?
yeah.
Oh, you made it. So the coworkers know.
When I told
said
you,
she
I told
announced.
everybody,
Everybody, the coworkers too.
I don't give a shit.
And get it to
I need for you
coworkers
to know
too.
I'm bipolar.
And it's not in a way of like you have to walk on eggshells around
Yeah,
me.
but I need you to be aware.
But I need you to know that I'm bipolar.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about this earlier. I cannot tell you how many people in my immediate circle I have helped. And this is like not even a vain thing, but how many people in my immediate circle I have helped because of my honesty and my vulnerability to be like, you need to get therapy. And he doesn't, shy away from this. My pastor started going to therapy. His whole family started going to therapy.
Listen.
My pastor's
Yeah.
wife.
Listen,
my
that's healthy
That was
living.
freeing.
That's healthy
It was
living.
freeing,
was
but
freeing.
I was like,
Yes.
I was the catalyst, right?
Yeah.
God used me to say, y'all, we can pray.
Yeah.
But we can also have therapy.
wisdom
We
is
can
the principal
also-
thing.
Listen, we can also be on therapy. We can also be on medication. It's okay.
Yes.
Is it gonna help you feel
In a
better?
multitude of wise counsel, there is safety. We ain't
right.
even listening to the counsel part.
Right.
They don't.
We ain't
know.
listening to the counsel part.
You can find if you feel more comfortable, you can find a Christian therapist.
Right.
I personally, even though I am Christian,
Mm-hmm.
I don't like Christian therapists because they tend to tell you to pray about it.
Yes.
And I'm not. I
Yes.
go to church for them to tell
Yeah.
me that. I'm coming
Yeah.
to you because I need you to give me some steps.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
Yes.
Now,
Yes.
mine was the opposite. I didn't want to go to a therapist because in my mind, I didn't feel safe. And I felt like you guys are going to write down all this stuff I'm telling you, and you're going to use it against me. I'm not going to get my kids back. Y'all going to claim me 5150, put me on meds, lock me up, and take my kids. That was my mentality. So let me go over here with the Christians because I know they ain't going to do me like that. And that was my mentality. But I want to say something to what you said about the medications, the therapy, and all of that. In this generation, I am noticing that a lot of young people glorify saying, I'm bipolar.
Yes.
And I'm saying that because I have young kids in their 20s. They have friends, this, that, and the third. And it's kind of a glorifying of it. And I see that two ways. I'm ambivalent about it. I'm happy that people are comfortable with saying, identifying, but the problem I have the thing I have a problem with is if you're not officially diagnosed, calling those things that be not as though they are. Like, you don't know whether you are or not, but at least get diagnosed. But I'm glad that you see that if you have these high highs and low lows, that you could possibly be, and that is identified as bipolar disorder. However, and I'm glad that people are just comfortable giving verbiage to these terms, because that kind of rids the shame of mental health disorders. Now, I'll say this about bipolar, and I'm saying this loosely. This is not a fact. Bipolar, PTSD, anxiety, depression, they lightweight. People like,
listen, it's lightweight.
They lightweight.
It's lightweight.
They lightweight, but let me say this. Let me say this though. People are dealing with and carrying much more serious mental health disorders that align with those, but because these are the normal ones, ain't nobody talking about these voices.
Schizophrenic.
Ain't nobody talking about these voices.
I have two people.
Ain't nobody talking about these voices, talking to them. And yes, we all talk to ourselves. Now, if you say you don't, you lying. You lying. I talk to myself, and I'm gonna tell you something. I like talk to myself better than I like talking to anybody.
I talk to myself.
I got some good conversations with myself. I'm having a meeting.
Have you seen that commercial where it's like she's asking all the me's around the room?
No.
There's a commercial where she's asking. It's a Zillow commercial, and she's asking all the me's. Anxiety me, what do you think? Helpful me, what do you think? She's like, and that's why you're favorite me. And then they go, me. But they're all dressed alike, but there's something different, like her hair is different, or glasses, or jewelry. That is my favorite commercial.
I gotta look at it.
I think it's important to talk to yourself.
I think it's important too.
Everyone should have a talk
I also
with
think that
themselves.
it's important to, when you hear symptoms that could, this is for you listeners, we're talking as candidly as we possibly can. We're trying to overcome a lot of shame. It's hard to talk about these things for some people. But we're trying to be as candid as we can. They say that to be brave with your story so that others can be brave with theirs. But we're talking about this stuff, but if you see symptoms that could even possibly be mental health disorders, ain't nothing wrong with going to your primary care physician and saying something like, this is how it's going to go. This is the nurse, registered nurse in me talking. Listen, doc, it's a little embarrassing for me to say this, but I just want to share with you. I feel like this is a safe space. I want to share with you that sometimes, I have these voices. I know we talk to ourselves, but these voices are saying something a little weird to me. Like, they even say things for me
to harm myself.
Yes, harm myself, or to do things to my boss that, sometimes I want to sock everybody at once, but this is a little bit different. This is a little bit concerning. So, what do you think I should do? Should I talk to a counselor? Are there any meds that we could try to see if that changes things? Don't be afraid to say. You got to just say it first. Same thing with PTSD. I'm going to tell you straight up. Anybody who survived up to this point, now we done had millions of people die over the course of the past 2 years of the pandemic. But if you paid any attention to social media, anybody in your family, friends, neighbors, on the job, people dropping dead left and right, that is traumatizing. And PTSD has varying degrees. You have mild cases of it, where some of y'all ain't comfortable going outside the house. They done let y'all free. Y'all is free. And you don't even have to wear your mask. You don't have to. People out here protesting and doing all this foolishness. You don't have to wear your mask. I'm not recommending that. Registered nurse Tanisha, I'm a 100% advocate of vaccinations and wearing your mask, staying 6 feet, washing your hands, and doing everything these people tell you to do so we can build herd immunity and get rid of this shit. That's what I'm saying. But they telling you can do all these things. They giving you all this space to do. I done lost my train of thought. What was I saying? I was getting ready to say something.
You're saying if you feel like you have, some type of mental
health.
Okay,
Yeah. So they giving you space to to do what you want. And as far as the pandemic is concerned, I forgot, but I'm going to try to lead back to what I was going to say. What I was going to say was, don't be afraid to talk to your primary care physician, number one. Say what you need. That's what I was going to say. See? So I had to talk with myself.
I like how you brought that back. Right.
The pandemic has created mild post-traumatic stress disorder for most of us. So some people are afraid to go out of their homes. That is a level of post-traumatic stress disorder. That's what I was going to say. It's mild. You can overcome it. They can give you tools. You can start with getting out and going to places where you feel safe. There's varying levels of this. But if you get to the point where you're scared to go out of your house, now you're going into agoraphobia. Now you scared. Now you're imprisoned in your house because of a global pandemic. And there is some precaution in that, but you ain't that safe. They bring some groceries in. You can still get COVID-19 or the variant. So what I'm trying to say is, don't allow something that has literally shifted the world to put you in a state of mental illness and it goes unaddressed. If this pandemic has affected your mind, you need to talk to somebody about it. Children have been affected. Women, men, married couples, everybody has been affected in some way, and I think it's important for us to talk about these things. Now, Kimmy.
Yes.
Now that we're talking about what the pandemic has done to all of us, it's done something to all of us. For you in particular, we have a very, very close relationship.
We do.
Very, very similar backgrounds, been through a lot of the same things. And I'll just, you're going to talk about it, but I noticed at some point in our sissy-ship, kindredship.
Oh, you guys are sissies?
Yeah, we're sissies.
We're sissies.
And you know,
so you understood when I
said we knew it. We looked at each other. Lila is my sissy too. Look, we share Lila. That's our sissy, but we share her. We share her. She's not yours, Leonka. Right. We share her.
We're sissies and we're kindred spirits.
Yes.
Because we have so much in common.
So if you're close like that, you notice differences in people. I noticed that she's at one point in our communication, she took on a task of running a organization. She's what we call an expert in, maybe expert is not the word, I'll let her tell you, but she is a woman's woman. She started an organization, a matriarch society. It's all about empowering women, togetherness, sisterhood, blah, blah, blah. I noticed when she took on this task to have an event, and this event meant everything to her. It's a passion project. Like my sister, Sissy, over here, Lila, uses it in that term in her Facebook post. I'm going to abuse that. Passion project. It was a passion project. Mm-hmm. And she was so dead set on helping these women. She was up night and day talking to people about their personal business. The whole objective was to I'm going to sell you a ticket to my event.
But I'm at everybody's event.
I'm trying to get y'all to come to my event. Yeah. But I'm gonna sell you a ticket to the event. But what she said to me, because I told her, I said straight up, I don't like women like that. I can't be on the phone talking to them all that, trying to get no ticket and all. I ain't doing all that. And she said, well, Tanisha, women need time. Women need relationships. She taught me a lot about relationships with women. She taught me a lot about that, and it has helped me. Anyway, long story short, I started noticing the closer we got to the thing, she got more and more like this. Woo!
The doc is here.
The doc is here.
The doc is here.
We go. Okay, so anyway, she started getting anxious. And she wasn't saying it, but I noticed it. I mean, just busybody where she couldn't keep herself together. And it was almost like, okay, sis, get it together. Now we solid, we thugs in this. We don't do that's not how we get out. Right. You got to get it together. So long story short, she started finally saying, I feel anxious. Like I felt like I was having a panic attack. Tanisha, I felt like I was having a nervous breakdown the other night. When she started using words like that, my spirit got in tune with her and was saying, okay, well, wait, what we need to do. At that moment, she wasn't calling it nothing. She was just like, I need to just get through this. Now, that, mind you, that's over with. That passed.
But the anxiety.
The anxiety ain't went nowhere. Then we start going on our little play dates. And every time we got together, she would, the slightest thing would get her in a tizzy. Where's my keys? Where's my keys?
I think I just did that earlier. I was
You
looking
gotta
for my
help me.
keys when I
You
got
gotta
here.
find me.
Like,
Help me
where's my
find my
keys?
keys. But it would get to be a thing where she breathing different. She acting different. She might even go off. And I would just be like, girl, just relax.
And
It's
that
just
wasn't
keys.
her.
It wasn't her. So, Kimmy, let's talk about your anxiety.
You know, I'm laughing because I did that when we got here today. Tanisha and Tina were waiting for me to get out the car, and I said, "Oh man, I can't find my keys. Where's my keys?" And,
Yeah.
I just almost fast. I know we got to get in. I'm here early. I'm not late this
Yeah,
time. I'm
yeah,
on time.
yeah.
And now I'm gonna spoil it because I can't find my keys.
Oh, it
Yeah.
went there. You
Yeah.
spiral. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
It went there. So I've been diagnosed with mild anxiety.
Okay.
And what I realized, I'm a juvenile probation officer
Okay.
and a certified trauma-informed care facilitator. But when I first went to the first class for trauma-informed care, I was just there in the class, and they talked about something called the ACE score, which is Adversity Childhood Experience. And they got to naming things like if you had a parent on drugs, if you had a parent that had disability. I'm naming all the things that
Applied to you.
Applied to me. If you had ever been molested, if you had any kind of caregiver that was emotionally abusive. And they got to naming all these things. And I was like, my score was very high. And I sat there in my seat, feeling like the imposter because I'm like, okay, are they going to find me out now? Are my coworkers going to
Does everybody know it's
really
me?
the background that I came from?
Because you're supposed to be the official. You're the
yeah,
officer.
I'm the officer, and I'm the official token in Orange County. They can't know.
Oh, you're in Orange County. Oh.
They can't know that
Ooh,
I've
not the black
had
girl got all this going on.
all this going on. But I went back to my office and I cried because I realized that I had been affected by trauma. I had never heard of the word trauma. And anxiety is just one of the symptoms from somebody that has had traumatic experiences. And so what I've noticed is I can get overly anxious. And I believe the anxiety comes from, as a child growing up, I'm always having, without having parents taking care of you, you're always thinking ahead. So your mind is always racing. Like, okay, I got to do this. I got to do this to take care of Dad because, he just spazzed out on drugs today, but I got to make sure I get to school on time. Can't nobody know, okay, what do I need to do tomorrow? And so it creates anxiety, especially if you've lived like that for
All your life.
years.
You never had a chance to be a child.
Never
Yeah,
had a chance to be a child.
Mm-hmm.
Never had a chance to be a child. So recently, I just went back to school and finished my degree. Thank you. But throughout the past 2 years, just full of anxiety. Just like, oh my gosh, what kind of grade am I going to get on that paper? Oh, goodness, I'm going to have to go to work, and I'm going to sneak and do my homework. And, so I have been diagnosed with anxiety.
Are you treating it?
I was under the medication Trazodone.
Okay, to sleep?
To sleep, supposed to calm you down. But what I realized, one of the adverse effects of Trazodone is weight gain.
Well, it's a long list of adverse effects on any
Listen.
medication.
Anything. So I stopped taking it just because of the weight gain situation. And then because it is an antidepressant, it eventually has a counteraction because you're on it and it takes a while for you to calm down and be okay. And then later on, after you stop taking it, you have a crash. And you're back to where you started from. The depression, the anxiety. And what I've learned when you guys were talking about talking to yourself, and that's very good because, they call me Kim Self, because I talk to myself. What I've been using for that and the strategy is just mindfulness. That when I feel myself
good, sissy.
getting anxious.
That's good. Mindfulness is excellent.
So I was on 3 medications. I'm only on 1 now. The mood stabilizer I only take as needed. But the way I got off of the Wellbutrin was yoga.
I heard that's a good one too.
Ooh, that's good.
Yoga
That's an
and
excellent
meditation.
Some
tool.
people don't do yoga.
Yeah.
Well, we do now.
We are now.
Yeah.
I was working at a yoga
That's
company.
excellent.
and they
Excellent
offered 3 yoga classes a week, and
Breathing,
I was always in
centered,
you're breathing
mindfulness.
so deep.
Yeah.
You're centering yourself.
Yes.
You're
Mindfulness.
being mindful, but also what I realized is when I was trying to go to sleep at night, I would start breathing like how I do
Oh
when
yeah,
I'm doing
because you
yoga.
practicing controlled breathing.
So that's smart because one of the things with the anxiety is
and
I have
decreases anxiety.
I have a lot of sleepless nights where I'm literally up all night. And my mind, even though I'm laying there, my mind is pacing back and forth. So I have started doing more meditation. You know, when I feel myself escalating or feeling anxious, I begin to talk to myself and say, hey, it's not that serious. It's not personal. You're okay. You can do this.
Those are the meditations.
Those
I
are
can
the-
hear-
On
yes,
that note,
yes,
on that note,
yes, I hear
let's
that.
all. At this point, I want to stop on a good note. With everything we've just talked about, you dealing with symptoms of anxiety and managing it, you, Leonka, managing bipolar disorder, me managing post-traumatic stress disorder. One note I want to end on before we bring in the doctor is it's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay.
okay.
It's okay.
We're
And let me
okay.
tell you what's okay. What's okay is to have a mental health disorder as long as one, you identify it, one, you are speaking with someone about it, two, you are treating it. It's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay. It's okay. And that's why they have professionals like Dr. Gloria Morrow. We're so happy to have her.
doc is in
here.
the
doc is in the
house.
house. So I don't want to spend any more time. We're going to take a break, and we're going to bring in Dr. Morrow. We're going to bring in my sister Lila, and we're going to bring in Dr. Tina Walker to further talk about Black women and mental health disorders. We just were very candid and open with you guys, but we want to give you also some answers and tools. And we're trying to break down this stigma of the strong. Yeah, we the strong Black woman, but we have some issues too, and it's okay.
It's okay.
Woo! That was a good first half.
Yeah,
Wasn't it?
stuff.
Wasn't it?
Awesome.
And even though these things are so hard to talk about, I mean, it's like opening up a scab. I mean, nobody, first of all, Black folks, we have a level of pride and dignity that we don't want to be labeled with any type of disorder whatsoever. And this old stigma of mental health disorders mean you crazy.
Right.
That makes it even harder to just open up and talk about things that are very, very common. As I said in the first half, everybody who survived the pandemic is dealing with post-traumatic stress disorder to varying degrees. Some very, very mild and undetected, some more pronounced, some are on the severe end. People heightened suicidal ideation and a host of other illnesses. The reason we are talking about it is because my objective as Black women, we are the most progressive and accomplished demographic in America. Woo woo, Black girl magic. But at the same time, Malcolm X said it best. He said that we are the most unprotected, disrespected, and neglected in America. So if nobody is taking care of us, we got to take care of each other, and we got to take care of ourselves. And so some of the things that are stifling us from being our best selves are fear, shame, and our resistance to vulnerability. We're not talking about the stuff we need to be talking about so we can overcome it, treat it, and get better. And we're not supporting each other in these situations. So I wanted to make a safe place and space for us to, one, have dialogue about it. Also, I brought in professionals to give us some tools. Dr. Morrow is in high demand. I'm going to tell you straight up. She just got off a plane. And if you sit and talk to her, y'all can't have her. We have to share her. I call her mom. It has nothing to do with age and none of that. It's just her nurturing spirit, number one. Her consistency as the essence of a woman I aspire to be. I love her drive. I love the way she carries herself. I love this grace that she has about her. I love how consistent she is in her persona. Everybody respects her. She's in high demand. So I wouldn't want anybody else speaking about nothing that have to do with Black women without including her. Her response was, whenever you ask me to do something, I'm going to show up. That touched my heart. I got a little tear, had a little tear jerker moment, but I also felt privileged. So I don't want to spend any more time on that. Dr. Morrow, and I might slip and call you mom, but the
That's
intent of my
okay.
heart. Dr. Morrow, when it comes to Black women and shame, we already know that's an umbrella, and that's a much needed conversation. You and I talked probably, an hour or more in the car. Well, I was in the car about it, and I know you did. It's your day to day. This is your day to day. But in the wake of the pandemic, number one, and the fact that I've said that Black women are the most accomplished and progressive demographic in America right now, but we just talked the first half about me dealing with PTSD, Kimmy dealing with anxiety, Leonka dealing with bipolar disorder. We're all educated women, all well spoken for, and I consider us accomplished and successful in our own right. What's your take or feedback on Black women and mental health disorders in whatever capacity you want to discuss it?
Well, if you start with what you all did earlier, I just want to thank all of you for being transparent and open, because that's what it's really going to take, for us to start talking about our own lived experiences, so people will say, you know what, that's me. And I want to be sure to get help, because I know help is available. So you all are really the sheroes for the day, because that's what it really takes. Everything else we're going to share, is good, but you all sharing your lived experiences really will change lives. So I want to take a moment to thank you for that. But women, we have been the multitasking queens. We take care of our children, we go to work, we take care of our families and our aging parents. We take care of godchildren, all folks that we care about. We're always busy doing something. And so it's not surprising that we're breaking down. Yeah,
You hear that? It's not surprising. that we're breaking down.
Yeah, we're breaking down because we have we carry so much. You know, it's like we carry our babies, and you know how the baby gets that nurturance from us. Well, we do that with the whole nation. And so when you think about all the things that are happening in the world, we carry it close to the heart. And so we are seeing us not only dealing with mental illness, but physical health challenges.
Sure.
Because I believe if your mind isn't
Come
right,
on.
your body won't be right.
I
and
need you
your
to repeat
spirit
that.
won't
No,
be
Mom,
right.
you have to
Yes.
say that again for the people. And
Yes.
say it slow for the ones in the back.
Yeah. Yeah, but if your mental health is not good, your physical health and even your spiritual health will be impaired. And I think it goes either
Symbiotic.
way. So we have to stop. We just have to stop it and say, you know what? It's okay to not be okay.
It's okay.
It's okay to not be okay.
For
Yeah.
so
It's
long
okay.
we've been taught that it's not.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's
sis,
that burden.
Let me say this. As strong black women, even we hard on each other.
We are.
Because we act like you're supposed to have the perfect body. Your hair better be right. You better be looking like something. Your kids better be taken care of. You better have a job. You better have a man. You better have this. You better have that. Dot that I, cross that T. And we always feel like not only do we have to show up for ourselves, but we got to show up because we got the sisters in the background criticizing us. We got the man over here comparing us to our white counterparts, and we got the weight of the world, like you said, Mom. There is a such thing as carrying too much.
Oh, yeah.
We are carrying I finally got, and I've just been saying this probably the last year or so. It's been the most difficult thing I've ever said in my life. But I finally start saying, I'm tired. I used to feel guilty about saying I'm tired, because ain't no getting tired. You a mother, ain't no such thing as getting tired. You ain't got no rich husband, you got to go to work. Ain't no such thing as getting tired. You can't get tired. But now my mental is tired. I'm fatigued in my mind.
Yeah.
I'm tired in my mind. Sometimes the demands, being a nurse and being responsible for lives, what you say to them, you can be sued, put in prison, lose your license and everything you own. Be just saying the wrong thing.
Yep.
So I got to be mentally present for that. I got 3 grown daughters, 2 grandchildren. Everybody got issues. Ain't nobody quite right because I messed them up the first part of their life. So there's this guilty black woman feeling responsible for the lives of grown women because I did some of that damage. So I just can't leave y'all out there by yourselves. So I'm trying to carry that. Trying to navigate in my mind when I'm supposed to have a man, what kind I'm going to get this time, how I'm going to treat him, and how I want him to treat me. I got that going on. I got my body images because when you carry all that stuff after 50, you can't sleep at night. Your cortisol levels go up. You get belly fat. You don't feel fine. You start trying to mask and dress and tuck and pull. It's a lot. It's too much sometimes to go at. I don't even sleep no more. I can be very candid and say my sleep is affected, and I got too much pride to take pills. The nurse in me won't take nothing.
So, y'all got to free yourselves from that. I mean, doctors. I'm not the doctor on the panel.
No. But
It's gonna
speak
be
to
my
it.
life
speak to
experience,
this.
right?
Yeah.
It's gonna be life
You
experience.
can speak to this.
And my sister said something earlier about not taking medication because of weight gain and all of that. Listen, if it's a little anacanapanasan out there that's gonna make you feel better, you might want to take a pill. And this is a black woman who is in entertainment. I do a lot of things with young people. I mentor, etc., etc. When I discovered that I had PTSD after walking in the house and finding my sister having a stroke on the floor, I couldn't sleep, cried for 30 days straight. My doctor was like, you might want to try a little something in addition to your therapy sessions.
In addition
to your therapy sessions, because those are maybe getting you over the hump, but the crying spells and you going in the bathroom at work, that ain't helping. Locking myself in the handicap stall to have a minute to cry at work. That for me was where I self-diagnosed PTSD, right? But the little anacanapanasan helped.
Yeah.
Did I gain a little weight? Back then, when I first took it, absolutely. Have I gained some weight during the pandemic? I have.
Yeah.
Because there's some coping
Well, not all.
mechanisms, not all,
Yes.
but there's some coping mechanisms that, so self-medicating with some things.
Yeah.
I'm not suggesting that to, everything in moderation. However, if there is something that can help you feel better, mood stabilize. I remember calling my mother. I was like, I'm either going to get some medical marijuana or I'm going to take some Prozac. She was
One
like,
of the
"Well, are
two."
those the choices?
Yeah, is that the AB? Was there none of the
Listen,
above?
I'm smoking a joint or I'm going to take a pill.
Which one?
Which one? So I can't smoke a joint at work before I go to work. So I'm gonna take a pill.
Yeah.
Right.
But I remember I just had this conversation with one of my good friends who suffered from postpartum depression. They're situational depressions, right? It doesn't necessarily mean you have a chemical imbalance. It's what's happening in the environment.
That's
We've
good.
lived through a pandemic.
good.
Your father died.
Yes.
My son died. I had this baby I don't know what
Yes.
to do with who can't stop crying.
Yes.
There are ways to treat
Yes.
those symptoms. And yes, it's called depression.
Yes, it's
And
called depression.
It may be situational or otherwise.
Or
it
otherwise.
doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We get to take care of ourselves. And the first thing we get to do is identify what that thing, put a name on that thing.
Put a name on that thing. Let's stop right there. Let's stop right there. No, seriously, because mom she did a play, wrote a book and all that about the things that make men cry. And what was so poignant about that, and the reason I'm bringing that up is because I had never in my life heard nobody addressing the depression of black men, right? And so that's a real thing. That's a real thing. I saw in her plays grown men out in that audience boo-hooing because they saw themselves on that stage. Now, I spoke to that to say, black women got the same thing.
We do.
We so scared to say we depressed because we think it's going to make us look weak.
Right.
We think it's going to make us look like we failed in some area. But it's a very human response to situation and circumstance. So you're going to do one of the two things. If it's traumatic, you might feel anxious about it because of the uncertainty involved. If you can't control it, you can easily go into depression. Am I lying, Mom?
Nope.
Depression and anxiety walk hand in hand.
Yeah.
They're sisters.
They are.
So a lot of times I'm diagnosing folks with depression and anxiety together.
Wait, Mom, wait. I had to pause right here because you wasn't here. Leonka was talking about bipolar depression. Bipolar disorder. She was talking about how she had one end of the spectrum and they were treating that. And then she'd have a counter response and they start treating that. And then at some point, somebody said, wait a minute. Because we're giving you this for this, giving you this for this. You know what, you might be bipolar. And she was saying that if they hadn't watched her to notice the highs and lows. And I said that to speak to the fact that as a nurse, I get patients and they're diagnosed with depression and they got major depressive disorder, recurrent episodes, and then that's going on for maybe 6 months. Then all of a sudden it pops up on a H&P, history and physical, that they have anxiety disorder. And I'm looking at it saying to my mind, well, why y'all got two different disorders? This is bipolar. We could just eliminate.
Well, even beyond that, sometimes it's just anxiety with depression. Sometimes people are dealing with a lot of fear. Because anxiety is really based on fear.
Yes.
You're afraid of something. So when you are feeling anxious, you have to ask yourself, what am I scared of?
That's good.
You know, you definitely
good.
need to call out the fear because that's what you need to deal with, the
That's
fear.
good, Mom.
You know, whether it's a fear of an elevator, whether it's a fear of failure, whether it's a fear that you're going to die, whatever the fear is. And then when that anxiety is so overwhelming, where then you're dealing with panic attacks and all those kinds of things, then you're going to find yourself feeling sad. Because you can go out of that anxious place and then feel sad.
Crash.
Because I'm just feeling like I'm out of control. I'm feeling really weird. I'm having these physiological symptoms now because anxiety will bring with it.
Yes,
you
it
feel
will.
it in your belly
Yes,
when you
you
start
can.
to feel
You
anxious.
can.
Yeah.
Your body goes into fight or flight. So it really affects all of your systems.
Yes.
As a nurse, I know that it affects your heart because you tell your body to run and your systems start running. So your heart, your neurological starts racing. So that Leonka spoke to all when she was calling out her symptoms. I was identifying every symptom. I mean, every system in her body that was being affected. How your heart. And that's what starts the panic attacks, because you actually get so excited and work your heart so hard that you create arrhythmias, and then your breathing changes. You start hyperventilating. Then you get restless. You start pacing. Like all those, just like Mom said, it all goes together: mind, body, and spirit. Who knows what's happening to your spirit?
Right. And that's why you have to get sleep.
Yeah.
Say that again. Help the
Also,
people.
I think what's so important is that you said it early, is like you have to stop. True story. So on Thursday of last week, I was in my office and I was having a moment. And that's what I call my situation. Oh, you just having a moment. I said, let me go out and get some air. I was hot. I felt like I called maintenance. Something's going on in the room. It's hot in here. I go out. I said, I'm going to drive to the bank. I work at like 2nd and Figueroa downtown. I was going to 7th and Figueroa to the bank. I wasn't in my car 5 minutes before I got disoriented. I'm downtown and I'm confused. I'm like, where am I going? Where did I say I'm going? Now I'm having this conversation with myself in the car, and I'm still driving though, because as women, what do? We push.
We keep going.
We push past. We don't pay attention sometimes to what's happening. So all of a sudden I'm at a bank on Adams and Figueroa. I was going to a different bank. I remember being in line. And I remember going and doing the transaction. I remember turning to walk. I don't remember how much time in between, but when I woke up, I was sitting in a chair surrounded by security and a bank teller. I had fainted, completely fainted. And they were like, ma'am, are you okay? We have to call 911. I said, call 911? What the hell? You know, I was like, and the security guard said, she must be feeling better because she has an attitude. So I was like, oh, you don't understand. This is just me, who I am, you know. But I had, in that moment, had worked myself up so much that I fainted. And what the body is telling me is that you're tired. And that, because the first thing my doctor said was, are you pregnant? I was like, the devil is alive with emotion. I might be birthing something new, but it ain't no baby, you know. I don't know.
The devil is
But
alive.
I have so much going on that we carry, you know, and there's no outlet, you know, all the time. You have to have a good sister. You have to have a good friend, a trusted space. But even in that trusted space, sometimes you're just still moving. You're still pushing. And so I say that these conversations, understanding, naming that thing, and what I told myself is stop.
You got to stop.
Not only do I have to learn the word stop, but I got to learn the word no.
Ooh, I knew you was gonna say that, sis. I knew that. That's our superpower.
Yes.
That's the
We
superpower.
say yes to
everything.
and everyone. We can't do that.
Ooh.
We
don't
can,
say,
but it's not healthy.
But we don't say yes to us.
Come on, Mom.
You know, see,
that's it.
I say yes to everything else, but I can't say yes to me. And here's another true story. I was preparing for a new film that I'm producing. And so, supposed to happen in August. Well, COVID happened, but a lot of things were happening. But you know what we do? We're looking at Facebook, we're looking at Instagram, looking what everybody's doing. Everybody look like they got it going on. I can't stop nothing now. Everybody's already knowing what I'm gonna do. Some said, you better stop.
Something.
You better just stop. And I don't know what happened to me in that moment. I stopped. I put things off until next year. I made some other moves that I needed to make that are going to benefit me in this process, because it's my money I'm spending. And everybody's trying to spend my money on my project. I stopped. But that was a time that I exercised self-care.
But who knows what would have happened to your mental health if you didn't control yourself and sit down somewhere.
I would have been a basket case, because I was becoming a basket case. I was already all over the place. I got to do this, got to do this. Come on,
You said something, Dr. Moore. I just have to jump in here because we do this. This is a phrase I use a lot with my young people. Comparison is the thief of joy.
Yes.
So if you are looking at what everybody else is doing compared to what, first of all, that ain't even your purpose.
Absolutely.
That ain't your calling. That don't have nothing to do with you. What you're supposed to do and complete, you get to focus on that. But if I'm comparing my journey
rich.
to somebody else's journey,
That's
that's gonna
rich.
always keep me feeling some kind of way.
Yes.
And we're doing that.
We-
We're
we
doing
do it all
it.
the
Say it,
time.
Mom.
That's the whole point
Say
of
it,
social
Mom.
media,
That's
baby.
it.
Yeah, we're
That's what
doing
it's
it. We're
for.
looking and see. Oh, she's got it. She's gotten engaged.
Oh, she lost 20
She
pounds.
lost
Right.
20. Yeah, she got this fabulous job. Oh, they're
Yeah.
starting a new.
She got a new car.
And you don't know what people are
You
really
don't
in reality
know.
doing.
Right.
You don't know the cost.
You
of
don't know
what
the
it is.
cost.
And you know, what is it? CeCe Winan. You know
Yeah.
the cost of my alabaster
Yeah,
box.
yes.
Right? And you know, it's not always spiritual, but sometimes it's simplicity in words.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And we get so caught up in this social media, and me being in human resources, I watch people. I've studied them over the course of my career, and I see these behaviors show up in the office, and it's frustrating, but it's also now at the point where it's just sad because we can't be our authentic self because we don't know who we are anymore.
Absolutely.
Because we're doing what? We're comparison.
Right,
You know?
right.
And
Yeah.
so, you know, you get a promotion or a title change, and that makes you someone or more than. But you forgot that all the struggles that you had before that title
Right.
change, you carrying those plus now the
Yeah.
new responsibilities.
Yeah.
But you sitting here trying to put on the face like you want to be important.
Imposter syndrome. That's what we
Imposter
leading
syndrome.
into.
That's what- right?
That's what we
And
leading
that's
into.
the beautiful thing about Dr. Morrow. You know, Dr. Morrow is a clinician, by the
Yes.
way. She is a
Yeah.
doctor.
Yes.
Oh, I have a PhD. It's different. You know?
Okay, look, educate me now. I ain't got there yet.
I'm a doctor. I owe the Department of Education some coins for that. But, you know, I want to just make sure it's clear here. Don't ask me nothing about
I'm gonna
that.
take mine to the grave. I owe them to the end.
You know, but you know, it's my grandmother was 98 when she passed away, and I was right at the end of achieving my doctorate. And you know, you make jokes about like, oh, I would have people call me Dr. Mom. My grandmother said to me, I prayed for Tina R. Walker. I don't know nothing about Dr. Walker. And I'm not
Mama call her
praying,
Clay.
right?
Mama,
And it was the most humbling thing because we can't let our title define us.
That's right.
You know, and when you speaking truth to power, right? All of these women on this platform today are accomplished in their own
expertise.
way, right? And you bring value, and that's what we should
Amen.
be
We
comparing
bring
ourselves
value.
to the value of
Yes.
a person,
Yes.
not their title,
Come
not
on,
their
sis.
car,
Come
not
on,
their
sis.
zip code.
Come on, sis.
You know,
But do
I
you
don't
know
care.
young people are dying because of this?
Yes.
Oh, my
I'm
goodness.
Yes.
working with young people in my practice that are trying to die because they're watching an image on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all of them, and they're comparing themselves to that and thinking I'm not good enough,
Yeah.
I'm not beautiful enough, I'm not smart enough, and they want to die.
Yeah.
And half the time it's fake.
Yes.
Right.
Airbrush.
Imagery.
It ain't. It's BB.
Right, BBL.
BBLs, and you know it's augmentation.
And they dying from that.
Yeah.
They dying from that. I've been
or
trying
they
to.
are financially ruined.
Ruined.
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
Financially
Oh,
ruined.
yeah.
Will
Oh,
never
yeah.
be able to own anything.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna
Trying to keep up the
live in
image.
debt.
Yeah.
Because I see the young people, and you know they have the fancy cars, and you know. I say, but you live at home with your mama.
Yeah.
I'm gonna need you.
Yeah.
Not to live at home with your mama.
Yeah.
You know, and you got a Mercedes.
Yeah.
What's a
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
tell people all the time, and six figures from somebody that understands those numbers, please don't get it twisted. Six figures don't mean accomplished. That does not. Once you pay your taxes, you give the Lord
We
your
still
10%,
poor. We
you
still
do
poor.
what you need to do.
We still
And
poor.
we live in Los Angeles,
That's
California.
right.
Right,
Absolutely.
right,
Yeah.
right.
And we got to pay $5.99 for gas.
Right.
You know, all that stuff. So when I see people and when they come in and you know they want to earn a certain amount, and I teach them what a total compensation package
Right,
looks
right,
like, so that you invest in yourself. Please don't take all these coins and go buy handbags,
Right,
and red
absolutely.
bottoms, and jewelry.
Which
Yeah.
is
Oh,
all
my.
an image.
My
let's
I'm sure it
let's,
looks my
let's
trigger.
get to
Yes.
that. Let's
Yes.
get to that because part of the strong black woman image has been, is, and will always be about royalty. We come from royalty. We have this queenship about us. We dress it. But what has happened is this imposter syndrome, which we're about to get to, is, and we got this. That's what I want to go into. But before we get to that, Lila, I want you to speak to depression, and I want you, Tina, to talk about how 2020 has affected your mental health before we go into imposter syndrome. We got to move there quickly. It's hard because there's so much we need to talk about. But I wanted to say that this image stuff is getting so far out of control that if we don't establish talks like this where we start speaking to worthiness and character and valuing ourselves in ways that are not external, we're looking at a generation that's not only just going to be shallow, but they won't have a leg to, no mental health to stand on. Because dysmorphia, I worked for a surgeon in Hollywood for some years, and dysmorphia takes on a monstrous effect to where you see it on
They
Instagram.
wanna change
You see,
everything.
they want to change everything, and I don't care what you can. I've seen people transform and become monsters to where I can't even keep a straight face and look at them, asking me to give you 4 syringes of silicone, and you looking like Daffy Duck already. Like I can't do nothing with that. I actually lost the job there because they wanted me to start getting the treatments. I said, I'll give the treatments all day long. I'll give chemical peels. I'll do lasers. I'll help you transfer, put the fat, take it out anywhere and put it anywhere.
Right.
But what we ain't finna do is start messing with this.
That's right.
And what we ain't finna do is do nothing with this.
That's right.
And what I like the way it looks on, but I don't want nothing cut, tucked, and I ain't ready for that. So when I didn't participate in that, they moved me out. And I was kind of happy because I said, you know what, God, I'm cool with this. It took me a while to get cool with it, but once I got cool with it, I'm good with it. I'm good with how everything is and how it sit and where it sit and whatever can't be 1, 2, 3. I'm cool with it. You know,
1, 2, 3.
and whatever Spanx don't do, I'm gonna work with it.
Yeah,
you know,
that part, yeah.
that's it. So, sis, depression.
Yes.
It's hard for me to associate depression with you because I have a certain image of you. And it's very polished and poised. That's how I see you.
Thank you.
Always have been. You about just as consistent as Dr. Mara. That's what everybody know. Lila is mature. She's poised and together. That's a together sister, conscious and all. How you get to depression?
I really did speak to me identifying it earlier when I talked about like my PTSD stuff with my sister and all of that. But and I've done a bunch of work, right? So just
I do know you doing the personal
digging
work.
into why do I have these moments where I feel low or I feel dark and I don't want to talk and I want to isolate. So much of what I do, what I'm purposed to do is public facing and pull other people up and speak and be on. And I can flip the switch all day. And it's not necessarily flipping the switch, but sometimes it is because sometimes I don't feel like it. But really in sort of looking at myself and the work that I do and going, okay, that's what you do and that's what you see. It really was when I started doing this work, right? Those moments where you don't want to talk, phone is on D&D all the time. I'm not answering the door. I don't want to be on social, none of that. That wasn't healthy. And so for me to identify that wasn't healthy.
That's good.
And here's actually, let me go back to where I first started therapy because I'm a huge proponent of therapy. I worked for years in residential care with young kids, adolescent boys, and then children between 6 and 12. And after I did that, when I was done doing that work, this particular job, my supervisor was like, you might want to explore therapy just to offload some of this stuff and explore what you've been carrying for 6 years. And these children on the spectrum, some of them were schizophrenic, children attempting suicide in this residential treatment facility, right? And that was the first time I even explored therapy and got to therapy to talk about these kids, but ended up
The therapists need therapy.
right, but to talk about these kids, but the therapist was like, well, okay, I understand these situations you've been in, but let's talk about your childhood, blah, blah, blah. And then started
Opening up
that kind of stuff and the breakthroughs I had in my first ongoing therapy sessions were mind blowing. Like overcompensating because I felt like I didn't look like my mother and my sister. Right, look just like my daddy, but as a little girl, I couldn't identify that. Don't look like my mom. Don't look like my sister. Where did I come from? Who am I? Imposter syndrome was already taking form. I'm not good enough. I'm the black sheep of the family. And so that carried over into some other things as an adult. So I have not been diagnosed with depression. Although, so my doctor prescribed the antidepressant. Because I was like, I don't know if these are hormones. Like I'm self-diagnosed. Maybe these are hormones.
We
I
all
can't
do
stop
that.
crying.
Yeah.
Like, what is this? The doctor was like, okay, maybe try this. And then I remember distinctly looking for a certain kind of therapist. I was like, I don't want a black therapist. I don't want a Christian therapist. I want an old white man to talk to me about how to see the world a certain way, right? Or how to use some tools to see a world a different way. I don't necessarily want them to come from the black experience. I want to be treated differently. But he was a psychiatrist. And he was like, are you taking anything for what you're describing as depression? And I was like, I am. And he was like, let's stop taking it for a little while. Because in his opinion, he was like, medical doctors love to prescribe.
Absolutely.
Right? He's like, medical doctors love to throw. That's what he told me. He's like, they love to throw antidepressants at their patients. Whatever. It
Pharmaceuticals,
could be,
period.
It could be hormonal. It could be some other things. He's like, let's do some other kind of work. And so we did. And I was like, yeah, but I still think that little pill.
It's so friendly.
Yeah, I felt like that little pill helped a little bit. After some months, I was like, I still think that little pill was
Right.
Yeah.
What do you think about that, Mom, as far as medication and
Well, psychiatrists, medical doctors, they are trained to prescribe. And so that's part of what you're going to get. But I think what may have happened with you and this psychiatrist, with him saying, no, you don't need to take it, you went in there and totally overwhelmed him because he had never dealt with a person that came in and knew exactly what they wanted and, all of that. So you steamrolled him. So there was nothing that was nothing he could do. And that's why sometimes we don't get the best benefit out of therapy when we are psychologically hardy like you are, because kind of how
We know
I'm
too
gonna
much.
take
We
control
know too
of this
much.
thing. I'm gonna walk in, and this is how this is gonna go. This is what we gonna do.
What we
And this
say,
is-
Mom?
Hey, that's it. So I do think though that you mentioned some things that I think are important, like secondary trauma. When a person is dealing with trauma. When they are watching somebody go through it, when you work with kids and you work with folks all the time as a nurse, probation, all these, you will be re-traumatized time and time again, because it's kind of like that 9/11 picture that we all see, the plane keep hitting the building. We go through this day in and day out. Here's what we're dealing with. Compassion fatigue.
that's what we dealing with, Mom.
And it's the cost of caring. When you care about
Compassion
people,
fatigue.
you are constantly taken back to the scene over and over again. So take that. That's your work. But then you have your own trauma. You got that too.
Layers.
So we have to be healthy, and we have to find ways to allow a therapist to help guide us to a healthy place.
guiding us. A lot of times we don't want to have the patience, because I'm just going to give you from my perspective quickly, and Tina, I need you to chime in. When you go to the therapist, Mom, correct me if I'm wrong, and this is no disrespect at all. Sometimes you walk in there and you thinking, listen, we got 30 minutes. I'm going to need you to get to the answer.
Right, fix me.
Fix me. What is it, Ayanna? Fix my life? Yeah, I need you to do that in 30 minutes with this Kaiser PPO. And then you guys talk, and you got us talking.
Right.
And we wait on you with the answers. And then you say, next week we'll meet.
Yeah.
And we'll talk more about. And you leave out
Well,
like,
that's not
what
therapy.
the hell?
That is not therapy.
What is that,
By the
Mom?
way, that's what we have been trained to be, our cookie cutter way of getting somebody in there and out of there within 30 minutes or 50 minutes, so we can then
we
create
ain't
a
even getting
diagnosis
quality therapy.
and bill
Ain't
you
that something?
for that help. Now, my work is a whole lot different.
Okay.
Because, I'm old girl now, so if y'all don't want to do the work, don't come. And I just tell
You
folks
are
right
like
up.
that.
I tell
Yeah.
people up front, if you don't want to do the work, because
Yeah.
the day I work harder than you
Yeah.
for you to get better, then I quit.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
yeah.
you have to come in here. So it starts with history. Everything starts with history. You got to look at where a person comes from, not just to find out where the traumas are, all the things that may have happened, but also so I can understand your cultural world.
Right.
Like she said, I don't necessarily have to have a black therapist. So sometimes we make a mistake even in our clinics where we say, oh, the person's black, let me give them to Dr. Gloria. Well, that may not be the
Right.
case. We need to find out who this person is going to
That's
work
good,
best
Mom.
with.
That's good
And
information.
so we have to definitely, make sure
Isn't that good
that we
information?
allow for them to teach us about their cultural world, what they need. And I ask folks, now tell me how to help you.
That's good
what you
too.
need in this experience to help you. Because at the end of the day, we're not going to be in therapy forever. I don't believe in folks being in therapy forever.
Okay.
I think that's
What do you think is a reasonable
They're just
time
bilking the
frame?
system.
Right.
Mom, what is a reasonable time frame for therapy?
Well, I don't think there's a reasonable time frame. I think there's a beginning, a middle, and an ending.
Okay.
And I
Okay.
think a good therapist
Okay.
is going to be leading people there.
Okay.
So I'm going to allow you to talk about all your trash and trauma and all
Yeah,
that. I'm going to
yeah.
give you a couple of sessions to do
Yeah.
all that. Then, because now we can't blame your mama no
Yeah.
more. So what we going to
That's
do?
good. Say that again,
Yeah.
Mom.
We can't blame.
We
We
not
can't blame
blaming
that
your mama
man.
no
We
more.
can't blame all that anymore. So now, what are we gonna do? And what
What
kind
we
of
gonna
goals
do?
are you setting for
Yeah,
your
what
life?
are your goals?
What do you
Say
want to
that
be
again,
when you grow
Mom.
up? Yeah.
What are your goals
What-
are you setting
yeah.
for your life?
What do you want to? What do
That's
you want to
good.
be when you grow up?
Yeah.
All right. And let me help you to get there.
Let me help you to get
Because
there.
then when I see you moving in that direction, then I'm gonna pull back time. Okay, now
Yeah.
I don't need to see you every week. How
Yeah.
about every 2 weeks?
Yeah.
And when you come back, I need your homework. I need to see where you have been working and what you've gotten accomplished.
That's good.
And then pretty soon I can peel you off again to monthly. And then we start the termination process. So
good.
sometimes between 6 and 8 weeks, my folks are moving on.
That's good.
See,
Now
I
I like that she gave. That's what I was
love
leading
it.
to, because I've heard of people going and being in therapy for years.
I was gonna say 16. To
Yeah.
be exact. I know someone
Yeah.
who was at the same therapist for 16
I
years.
would feel like a failure myself
I
if I got somebody in there for
doing?
16 years.
I don't understand. I'm like, what are y'all doing?
Yeah, I had to go to my own therapy.
Yeah.
So Tina, I have to hear from you. And this is going to lead into imposter syndrome, but let's just take a break for a moment. Okay?
3 minutes.
Okay. Let's take a break.
3 minutes until 45.
No, let's take a break.
You want to take a break now?
Can we take a break? Okay, we got it. Okay.
Ladies, there's a new concept that is being promoted now called imposter syndrome. And what they're basically saying is that women are going into the workplace feeling inferior, feeling like they don't deserve to be there, especially in corporate jobs and positions. And there is such debate about this concept, though, because some folks in our community say, well, it's not that we're dealing with imposter syndrome. It's what we get, how we get treated when we get to those places that make us think that we're not good enough or we have to work harder to prove ourselves. But nonetheless, whichever way it comes, it causes women to feel anxious, stressed, because they're putting a lot of additional burden on themselves because they want to be at the top of their game, but secretly feeling like they're not, either because they think that way because of their own socialization. Because sometimes if a mother or father tells you you ain't gonna be nothing, that could create imposter syndrome. You never think you're going to really be anything. So, so let's talk about that. And I think Tina can talk a lot in her role as HR.
Dr. Mara, because you didn't
Yes.
been to my place. And, the beloved community is not so beloved.
Oh.
But, part of the challenge, and Tanisha was asking 2020, I'm going to quickly take you back to kind of where I am in October 2021. Well, last year, I gained a granddaughter, April 3rd, 2020. So I had a pandemic grandchild, right? That's what they're calling it. But on April 7th, 2020, I lost my partner. The man I was going to marry, July 2020. So not only did I gained and I lost, but that was the second man that had passed away of something. My son's father, 21 years earlier, died of a brain aneurysm. And I took one day off.
Oh my
I
goodness.
took one day off because I felt like I couldn't take off because I'm the vice president of HR. I have to be there for the staff because they're going through the pandemic, as if I wasn't going through the pandemic, and that my job needed me to be on and available so I could coach everybody through this tragedy, not taking care of my personal tragedy.
Yeah.
And what was so amazing to me, fast forward, is that they let me do that, right? And there was levels of resentment that continued to build up, but it wasn't their fault. I didn't speak up for myself, and I wasn't an advocate, something that as HR we tell people to do all the time, right? I'm your advocate. Well, who was my advocate?
Right.
And I put on the face. I did what I was needing to do. I showed up, but inside I was, and you asked what 2020 felt like to me. The one word that best described it was tortured. I felt tortured for the greater part of last year because there were so many things that I didn't feel like I had control of or over, but I was responsible for. Responsible for a new grandchild, responsible for a 27-year-old son who didn't plan on having a child and dealing with the surprise of finding out he's a father, dealing with the loss of my partner, the acceptance that, for real, Jesus? Listen. Because I love you, I trust you, I promote you. Come on now, for real? Times 2?
Yeah.
And I'm over 50? Ain't nobody trying to start over. Trigger. I need some help. But that's what 2020 was like. And in the work life, I began to just pay attention more. Because not only when you are accomplished and you're the only, Kim, you said this about being the special one in Orange County. I'm the only African American on the executive team. If I have an opinion, sometimes I'm the strong, angry Black woman. And when you are running human resources and you are advocating for people who look like you, now you're being charged with doing it because they look like you. But then if you don't advocate for people that look like you, now they coming at you saying, well, what's wrong with you? You don't think you Black? So I had all of these things going on, and it's still there.
Right.
And it goes back to the story of fainting because the mind is tired, the body is tired, and so you're moving in all these different directions, but you are putting on this face and you are walking the walk and talking the talk, but inside you need something.
Right, you feel like an imposter. You feel like I'm not authentic.
Right.
You know, I'm not being my authentic self.
Yeah. And I haven't got to the medication, the ABCs yet. You know, but
What did Lila call it? The onomatopoeia?
right, whatever that was, right? But what I can honestly say is that I'm thirsty, you know, and so we find solace in drinking. But who want to be who want to be drunk with a grandbaby?
Let's speak to that.
She's thirsty.
Yes.
To, if you can, has anybody on the panel experienced increased alcohol intake during the pandemic? Would
Not-
you be afraid to say it?
Not alcohol, but I did pick up legal marijuana
Okay.
in a pen. I did.
Okay.
I would say increased eating. And if I may say, you know, these kind of panels and discussions are so imperative and they help so much, because more than somebody saying, I understand, when you hear someone say, I've done that, I've lived that. So what Tina was saying in regards to going to work right after losing a loved one. At my job in 2009, I lost my mom. I got the news while I was at work. I was afraid to leave work because I didn't want to be the little black girl that left something undone. 2011, I lost my dad. I came to work the very next day because I wanted to make sure my desk was clear. And as far as the imposter syndrome, for 20 years, I had never heard of the imposter syndrome until Tanisha brought it to me. For 20 years, I went to a job and I felt like I don't really belong here. I'm not fitting in because I don't have the same background as them with family. And they wondered why the kids would gravitate towards me, because they could relate to me because I had experienced some of the things they had experienced. But in my mind, I'm not worthy. When they told me you should try to promote, no, because I don't have enough education. No, I'm not worthy. I don't belong here. And it wasn't until yesterday, and I know I was supposed to do this yesterday because of here. A client came in, the little boy was incarcerated, his mother was on drugs, and he was raised by his grandparents. He had gone on the run from December until yesterday. So when I talked to the grandfather, I said to him, you're doing a wonderful thing by raising your grandson. My grandparents raised me. When I talked to the young man, I said to him, I understand, you know, that your mother's on drugs and it's very hard for you. And it's hard for you living with your grandparents, because I was that child. When I talked to the mother, I said, get your act together. You don't know what you're doing to your kid. I know because my parent was on drugs. But when I finished the conversation and they thanked me, I realized, Kim, it has nothing to do with your education. God had given you the life experience. You are worthy to be here. It took 20 years for me to realize that, you know what, imposter syndrome out the window.
Yeah.
I am worthy to be here.
Absolutely. That's good stuff. Good stuff.
You guys both actually reminded me of something that I totally forgot. So I lost my father last year, May of 2020. It was a very peaceful experience because he had been sick for 2 years. And in May of 2020, he was in ICU and we got to go into the hospital to say goodbye to him. That is unheard of during COVID. Okay? So he didn't die of COVID. It was a heart situation. So we got to go into the hospital to say goodbye to him, and we had our goodbyes and we laughed and everything. So that day, and this is what's interesting to me, from when I had my mental breakdown in 2013 to the new person I am today. When you said I went back to work the next day, and you, in your mind, you were like, I have to take care of these people for COVID. When I was in the hospital, and when I was at the psychiatrist's office, I was like, no one's gonna take care of the girls. No one's gonna take care of the team. I'm the only one that's gonna have their back. They're gonna be taken advantage of. This is what's going on in my mind. And she was like, I'm gonna take you off of work because you're now not taking care of yourself. You're taking care of these little white girls that ended up backstabbing me when I went back to work, right? That didn't care about me, but I was taking care of them, right? So that's 2013. I'm almost dying because of me giving all myself to this job. Now fast forward to 2020, I lost my father. I was like, there is no way on God's green earth that 5 days is enough time for you to grieve someone that gave you life.
Right. Right.
So there is no way. And I had just started this job. I had only been on this job for like 3 weeks, right? So I had a meeting and I said, hey, my dad is transitioning, so I'm not going to be able to work on Friday. He was like, okay. Went to the hospital. My dad passed away like Friday night. It was like Saturday morning at like midnight, 12:31 or something like that. That weekend was Memorial Day weekend. So I ended up having Monday off. So then the bereavement ended up being like 5 days plus a week, right? But then that came and I was like, I can't go back to work. Like, I'm not ready to go back to work. 10 years ago, me would have been like, I have to go to work. I'm going to lose my job, blah, 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 blah. Today, sorry, Mom, I was like, fuck them people. I don't give a shit about them. They can kiss my black ass. I'm not going to work until I just lost my father.
Yes.
And they didn't understand the journey that I had been on with him because I had only been working there for 3 weeks, so they didn't really get it.
Right.
But I was like, and they didn't care. I was like, I don't care about these people, right? So I think I ended up taking another week off, and then I went back to work. It took me 2 months to cry when my dad passed away. One, because I was at peace. Because I knew he was like, I'm ready to go. He was like, if they can give me something to help me go faster. But he was ready to go. So we were like, you're ready to go. That's cool, you know?
Right.
So I was at peace. I was also busy. Right? So I had to move, and I moved back in with my mom, and then I had to empty my apartment. And so I was busy. I was moving. I was doing things, whatever, right? So then once my first day back to work, there's a meeting happening. Mind you also, the day my father died, that weekend was George Floyd. That weekend. So as we're mourning, the nation is mourning, there's, it's crazy. So then I go back to work to a whole DEI, Black Lives Matter. And I was telling everybody, my cousin, she lives in Colorado. She's the only Black person that lives in Colorado, and not in Colorado, but her neighborhood. And so people were stopping while she's walking the dog, like, I hope you're okay. I'm sorry. And she's like, you've never talked to me in my life. She was like, what's wrong? I said, you have Black fatigue. That's what you have. So I'm mourning. I have Black fatigue. I go back to work. And on my first day back to work, there's this big DEI conversation. That was the first day I cried.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was the first day I cried, was the first day back to work, because I was like, I am tired.
Right.
And I don't even know if I cried because of my dad, but I cried because I was like, I can't believe that I have to go back to work for these people and deal with this bullshit.
Right.
And my daddy is dead.
Right.
And I got to keep working at this job.
Right.
Yeah.
That job lasted. That went back to work probably like June. I quit in August because he went off on me about some UPS thing. And I said, you know what?
What you say, Bianca? What you say?
This ain't working out.
Yeah.
I'm not going to, I can't work. He was like, well, and he was shocked.
Yeah. Right.
And I said, I'm still really dealing with the mourning of my father. I don't need this. And let me tell you something. My father, I did not fully understand what my father did for us until he died. But you want to talk about passing down generational wealth and making sure that everything, that man made sure we are good.
Yeah.
We are
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
When we went to the cemetery and she was like, oh, do you have life insurance? We were like, no, we're just going to give you a check. We are good.
Yeah.
This man is buried around a whole bunch of Jewish people that died 500 years ago. You know what I'm saying? In Inglewood Cemetery, overlooking the lake. We are good. So I was like, I don't need this job.
Come on now.
Fuck you and your little fucking company. I'm out.
Yeah.
I started my own business. And I was like, oh shit, what the fuck did I just do? My dog's food alone is $300 a month. Like, what did I just do? Do you know that I got 3 calls that day for clients, and I've never looked back.
That's
Wow,
wonderful.
amazing,
That's an amazing story.
amazing.
Yes.
I love
Yes,
it.
yes,
love
yes.
it.
But had this 10 years ago,
Right,
it would have
right.
been a different story.
Let's take a break.
Yeah.
We got to take a break. I'm excited, but let's take a break.
We're taking a break. All right.
This is so good.
You know, this has been such a rich conversation,
It has.
especially with your stories that have really shown us how we have allowed ourselves to go through our work, our experiences, and life feeling like we don't have value and we don't have worth. And sometimes it's because the environments that we are in do not help us to feel wanted and valued and needed and see our value. So it's really good for us to start identifying when we feel that way about ourselves. You know, when you're going into your job saying, "Oh my gosh, you know, they're going to find out it's me." You know, when you're starting out to you know, tackle something and you're always having to start it over. If you're writing a book and you're, you know, having to start it over and over and over, keep throwing stuff in the trash can, that sometimes means that, you know, I how can I write this book? You know, how can I do this? You know, I don't think I'm good enough to do it. So recognize that and stop yourself right there. You've got to start doing the work because that just means you've got to do some work because that company may never change.
Right.
You know, we've been talking a lot, and my sis could tell you, we've been talking a lot about building a beloved community. And I've been doing a lot of trainings around that in corporations to try to help them understand they need to build better places. It means it's Dr. King's message to us from the Civil Rights Movement. And what he said is if we're going to really challenge racism and all isms and poverty and militarism, then we have to strive to build a beloved community where we know that we care about each other, that everybody's included in this community. And a lot of us go to work in places that are not beloved communities. So it's very common that we would go in there feeling like, well, I'm not good enough, or they're gonna find me out, or whatever. So don't allow that to happen to yourselves. We have to go in there saying, I'm all that in a bag of chips. But that's going to cost some work on our part. We're going to have to really start acknowledging when we feel that way and then go through the work that we need to. And sometimes that's therapy. And sometimes it's just us sitting down and being real with ourselves.
Yes.
And just starting to think about ourselves differently because we bring so much to the table. This world would not function without Black women.
Wouldn't.
That's a good
Would not.
This world
There's a
would
lot-
not function.
There's a lot of corporations that run because there's a black woman supporting
Listen.
all those white men.
Absolutely. When you-
Listen,
to take a break.
Yeah.
That is a great place. Thank you, Dr. Morrow.
Thank
for
you,
being
Doctor.
Thank
Thank
you. Thank you for showing up as you always do.
I will be in contact.
I mean, there is never enough time
Yeah,
for
there-
stuff
it's
like
just-
this.
how
I
do we
mean,
go through this for
how?
time?
How?
That
sis?
fast.
I mean, I got a lot today.
This was awesome.
This was awesome.
Yeah.
These talks are, I mean, if you can't see how poignant these conversations are and how they can go on and on and
Yeah,
on and on,
yeah.
because we need a safe environment to be able to vent and say these things. We need a safe place to take off our capes for a moment. We need a safe place to be authentic and vulnerable. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Yeah. Take off the cape of shame.
Take off the cape of shame. Now that's where we gonna get gutter. And I'm saying gutter. This the hood side of me saying, yeah, we're gonna get gutter because my goal in this documentary is to not just deal with imposter syndrome, which we're gonna continue this conversation on, but I'm trying to hit our body image.
All of
I'm
it.
trying to hit our hair. I'm trying to hit how we shame each other. I'm trying to hit how black men shame us. I'm trying to hit how the world sees us. I'm trying to hit how we see ourselves. I'm trying to open that thing up because the objective is for, as I said before, is for shame resilience. We want to build up since we so strong, it ain't no reason why we can't overcome shame.
Right.
But we got to put a name on that thing. We got to talk about it. You know, we got it. We ain't scared. So we got to get over the fear of voicing the word shame, talking about the areas where we carry shame, because we all got it. It's it's a primitive human emotion. Ain't a person walking that don't have shame. That's what helped halfway free me. Because I used to be shame about a lot of stuff, but then I start saying the same shit wrong with me is wrong with your ass. And if it ain't that, it's something else.
Right.
So instead of me always focusing on what I'm ashamed about with me, let me work on my shame privately, but what I ain't gonna do is shame you.
Mm-hmm.
And what I ain't gonna do is let you shame me. I ain't accepting shame from their
Okay.
person.
I think it's important too that we call out denial. Like you can't fix what you don't claim.
Come on, sis.
So sometimes it's not so much calling that thing or naming that thing, it's being in denial about where you are.
Great.
Not
So
even
have-
thinking you even have shame.
Right. So have those courageous conversations first with yourself.
That's good.
Get to
That's
a
good
place
information.
where you are not afraid to be honest with you. Like the first time you start to heal and to do some repair is when you can be honest with yourself.
That's good.
You know, now we do worry about what people think.
Yeah.
We're so focused on how it's going to make us look, and we talk about that through the imposter syndrome. But the first thing is don't be in denial. Like, come on, like, and then get some tools and create this space.
And
Like,
you need a
this
safe
ought to be a
space.
You have to
session
have a safe
You have
on
to have a safe
everybody's,
space.
you know, we
You
all
have to
need
have
to
a safe
have these sessions. You know how people get together for cocktails and you know, we can always get together for food and fellowship, but we need to get together for healing.
That's what I'm
We
saying.
need
That's what I'm
sisterhoods
on.
coping mechanisms.
That's what I'm
where
on.
We can do
That's
that.
what I'm on. Because
Yes.
we ain't. I don't want to gossip no more.
Yes.
I don't want to. And I've never been really a gossiper. That ain't never really been my thing. But in a situation like this, you get with your sis, you get to talking about this, that, the third, and a whole lot of nothing. But now I'm about talking about healing and growing. Period. I ain't got no conversation for nothing else because I can do that by myself, or I can watch reality TV, which I find way more entertaining. But in this space, imposter syndrome, sis. What you think? Well, how do you define it? Because this is a heavy subject.
So it's so interesting. My definition of imposter syndrome is much like what we've discussed earlier, but thinking you don't deserve to be in the room, right? And so thinking I'm not worthy. How did I get here? Am I supposed to be doing this job? For Lila, it was a position that I had or may have currently, and with a huge organization, managed by a huge organization, I was like, that's amazing I got this gig. But did I get it because they were trying to hit a diversity number? They gave me this job because I'm a black woman, and
I
you know
hate that we even have to think
this
that.
was a diversity hire. Okay, but maybe it was a diversity hire. But how many candidates did you outshine to get in the bucket of the diversity?
But why did you even allow yourself to get to
Right,
the...
but here's my point. It might have been, but when I came to myself and said, I have the skills to do the
Right.
job and I do belong in the room, maybe it was a diversity hire, but it was a number of people who were black
Right.
and or female, and I'm the person who was the most qualified. I do deserve to be in the room and speak to the people. So for me, yes, to your point, sis, why do we go there and think that? I think a lot of our shame and putting a name on this imposter syndrome, which is not a term that's been around for very long.
I don't even like imposter being associated with nothing about
Exactly.
me.
But I do think a lot of, I can only come from a lot of my thinking around things, it's just learned behavior from my mother, from my grandmother, from my
Why do you
aunts.
think... What you mean when you say learn behavior?
I mean, so I have family members who are still very much colorists.
Okay.
And
Me too.
the darker person is
not
not
so good
the
as the
best,
lighter.
is not the best as the lighter person. And if you don't
Gotta talk
have a
about that,
certain,
too.
I know, if you don't have a certain background, then you maybe should try something else. I remember very distinctly wanting to pursue my degree in culinary skills, and family members saying, what does that even mean? That's not going to get you where you need to go. You need to pursue something in business administration. So deferred my dream because I didn't think it was even worth pursuing. So I'm saying a lot of things, but I'm saying that that's all rooted in
yeah. I
messages
hear
that we
you now.
receive as kids
That's
that
exactly
we
it.
carry with us.
Woo!
And it's not, our parents did the best they could, but they had had their own shame
I
about
was
whatever their
just
own
gonna
stuff
say
was.
that it's
And
transgenerational.
It's totally transgenerational. My mother had her stuff. Her mother had her stuff. Her mother's had her stuff. I mean, the stuff that we carry
Conditioning.
is absolute conditioning. I want to say this too, though. Going back to the Anna Panasand and like us not dealing with getting meds for what we need to get meds for. Listen, if you knew what your white counterparts was taking.
Oh,
Listen.
hey, y'all know I know.
Listen.
Y'all know I know.
I just had a conversation with my white friend, and she's white, but she's not a Karen. She's a what's Amanda? Amanda's
Yeah.
like our ride or die. Like she's an Amanda, right?
Okay.
But she just got diagnosed with ADHD. And
Oh.
sometimes I feel like I have ADHD, right? And I'm like, oh, I might be a
That's
little
another
bit.
misdiagnosis they
Yes.
haven't. They didn't call out when
Yes.
we were in school.
Yes. And I'm like, I'm a free spirit. And she's like,
They just gave us standards.
yes, right. Or they're bad. Or that's just a bad little kid. So
Yeah,
you put them in
uh-huh.
special ed. And so she was like, you might want to think about it. I was like, I'm on enough medication. And then if I add something in it, I don't know how that's going to, and I'm doing really good right now. So I don't know. But when I went to a doctor in Santa Monica, I had been going to a doctor over here,
Yeah.
and she was Asian, but she dealt with us.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I would go in, and she basically was calling me a hypochondriac and all these things
Because of their cultural understanding.
and I changed and went to a doctor in Santa Monica, and I walked in, and she was kind of abrupt, but very quickly she said, "Are you depressed?" I said, "Shit, I don't know." Well, I'm gonna give you a psych thing, and she gave me a psych because I would think I was an HMO, but that's how it even got in my mind. Like, oh, maybe there's. But my other doctor, all my numbers were off, my blood numbers were off, everything was off, and that's how they are. If I wasn't in Santa Monica, she wouldn't
That's
have.
why you have to doc shop.
You do have to doc shop, but I want to bring it back because I brought that up just to say with this imposter syndrome and thinking we're not supposed to be
Yeah.
in the room.
Yeah.
Ain't nobody in the room don't have an issue.
Right.
That's my whole
right.
point.
Now that's
That's
a
good.
good
That's
point.
it.
That's good. And let me say this:
That's
you
it.
were talking about mom, grandma, all those things. That's the one thing that helped me to identify imposter syndrome. Because I
Yes.
was reading about it and I kept saying in my mind, I don't know why we really gonna talk about this because I ain't no imposter. Straight up, I'm real. I keeps it 100. But then the more I read about it, the thing that I found that was so poignant is it said, particularly with African American women being so accomplished and educated as we are, they said the root of our imposter syndrome is years of witnessing or experiencing oppression of any kind.
Yep.
And we come from oppression.
right.
And we still oppressed right now. So you got all this oppression. The oppression chips at your worthiness.
Right, of course.
It chips at your worthiness, which makes the black girl feel like she has to be twice as smart, work twice as hard to convince. That's where the imposter connected with me. Because I was like, I ain't no imposter. I don't be fake about it. I be me. But it's it's the result of convincing others through your image, accomplishments, or performance that you deserve to be in the room, whether you believe it or not.
Right, absolutely.
So that was my takeaway. And I said, okay, I can identify with that because yes, I have been oppressed. I mean, we all have been oppressed. And yes, my worthiness has been chipped away from years of abuse and some other stuff in my history. So yeah, my worthiness has been chipped away. Yeah, I do. I still suffer with issues of worthiness and saying to myself, you are worth that. It's uncomfortable for me to say you're worth this. Like I said, I was telling a guy, I said, you're a quality dude. I'm a quality woman. There's no reason why two attractive quality people who are stable, who have, all these, compatibilities, ain't no reason why people shouldn't be linking up and getting married. Like, why we got all these hangups? Y'all trying to be pimps. We trying to be, Beyonce say, the woman trying to, all the single ladies and pay her own bills, independent, pay your own bills. And we should be coming together with partnerships and making things work in the world we live in. Like, I couldn't understand that. But I said all that to say there's a part of him. That's how I identified imposter syndrome too in relationships. Now this
That's where I
is
was
what
gonna-
gut punched
yes.
me.
And that, yeah.
Is I work hard. And I ain't scared to say this because anybody's been in a relationship with me or anybody watching me in a relationship, I work hard to feel worthy of the man's love. Wow. And it can go deep with me. It can go deep, which is why I suffered so much abuse because I'm understanding that the black man got his own struggles. They go through a lot. I want to be his peace. I want to be his strength. I want to be his rock. I want to be his diehard. But I'm suffering. He broken. And I'm trying to hang in there to show him that I got your back. All I need you to do is love me. And he ain't even capable. He ain't even capable. That was my history. Now I'm saying, look at here. If you ain't capable, stay away from me. If you ain't willing, stay away from me. Because I'm only working with willing and capable right now. I don't want to deal with potential either. I mean, I'm 52, and I can't play with potential now. This is too much of a gamble for me. So I'm going to be single and by myself. However, did the little quarantine boo thing, you know what I'm saying? And I found myself in the beginning doing a lot of work. And I had to tell myself, girl, if you don't sit down somewhere, whatever happened to them having to work
Because
I had to catch myself though. Because it wasn't about, well, it was about low self-esteem, but I didn't identify it with that at that moment. But it was about, look here, I know you might have dealt with some bottoms, but, I'm educated, I'm independent, I love God, I'm adventurous. I'm saying all these things that I know about myself. I'm telling you, I'm a quality woman. I'm trying to show you, I'm trying to convince you, hey, I'm trying to persuade. But I start saying to myself, well, damn, that's too much work. But I identify that as imposter syndrome.
That's awesome. That's an amazing example.
I think, Tanisha, you brought up, and I'm reading on my notes, because a part 2, we talk about how imposter syndrome shows up in the workplace. But there was, when I was doing some research on it, like a part 2 of it is, look, I'm old because I got to look down on my glasses.
Listen.
Continuing doubts about people and individual defense mechanisms are considered difficult to achieve healthy relationships. So when you ask for the definition, that's the section that I go to more, because even when people pay me a simple compliment, like, oh, girl,
I still struggle with that.
Whatever it is, you'd be like, for real, she don't mean that.
I still struggle with that.
You just be like, stop it. And, you
struggle
had
with
me
that.
dying when you were like, I might be big,
Yeah.
but I might not.
Listen.
Like, you can't tell me this one.
I wish I had that. My baby girl has that.
She does.
My therapist asked me,
Yeah.
where did it come from? I said, I don't know.
think it's a
what you
beautiful
mean?
thing.
I'm looking in the mirror.
I think it's a beautiful
You don't see what I
thing.
see?
I think it's a beautiful thing. And you know what? I hate women who shame women for feeling good about
Yes,
themselves.
yes,
I
right.
hate
Yes.
that.
Right.
If I take 100 selfies, I can annoy the fuck out of you. Scroll past. I'm working
Yes.
on me.
Yes.
And sometimes that's my own. I mean, if you got any common sense, I'm trying to validate myself. There ain't no secret. We don't need to post about
Right.
self-validation. We
Right.
know that. But let me do that. Let me do
Yes.
that. Let me be my authentic self until maybe I surpass that. And
Yes.
now I only post one a week. Just
But
work with
stay
me.
off my page if you have any kind of
I'm
comment.
with that,
But I
too.
don't want to go there with that because that's a trigger. But for me, what I find that is most important in this culture, of, especially as a woman of color, as a black woman, as a proud black woman, like I wouldn't want to be any other race,
Me
just
either.
personally,
Period.
But I had to forgive myself for all the things I'm not. Like it started with
that's
understand.
good,
Oh
Tina.
yeah, I'm not gonna be a size 8 anymore. I'm literally
all right.
cleaning out my closets.
Ooh,
Like
I'm working on
last
that.
night, I was in tears. I was like, when were you a small? When were you a medium? But okay, I got bags
my
right
struggle.
now of clothes. bless us. You know, but I had to forgive myself.
And you know,
you have to
size ain't
work
got
on
nothing
that.
to do with feeling good
Good,
about
you
yourself. I
don't.
tell you that
You
because you can be
don't.
skinny and feel horrible about yourself, and you
You
can
will.
be big and feel beautiful about yourself.
But you walk into a room, and I believe I got this from my grandmother. People say this about me all the time. They're like, I remember from kindergarten, they say you walk in a room and you command attention, and you don't demand it. It's just who you are. And I used to always pray, and I still pray this prayer: Lord, meet me in whatever room you're in.
That's good.
Go before me.
That's
You know.
good.
But when I get there, I need to be clear about who I am in the room, because people try you just because they want to see where you are. And if you're not certain about where you are emotionally,
That's good.
psychologically, or whatever
They'll
the
put you
case
where
may
they
be,
want you to be.
they'll put you in a box. And this imposter syndrome, we'll just jump in the box because it's easier.
Yeah.
You know, and then we try to
That's
get out
what this
the box.
BBL is about.
Yeah. We'll
That
try to get out of the box.
classified that shade
Yeah.
and
I'm
said
not
that
gonna
this is the dime. No. I know where you about to go. I know where you about to go. Jada and the Red Table Talk had the
Yes.
whole conversation about
Listen.
that. Everybody has, in their mind at one point and another, thought of what they could augment to be that. The thing I have a problem with that is, yeah, it's bomb. But let me tell you what my mental, because I think working with a surgeon and seeing it go back to
Yes.
back. I'm watching y'all come in back to back to back. You done took your Walmart check and trying to get this sucked
Yes,
out to
when
get
you
this
can't
here.
really afford
I
it.
mean, come on. And I'm looking at this and saying in my mind, now I want to get rid of some of this ass. You want it, you want more. Oh, okay, I see it. 5 minutes. All right. But the thing that bothered me most is that we've set such a standard by it, but you can go scroll down Instagram. That's all you see.
That's it.
Flat stomachs, 18-inch waist, 38-inch hips. And the bodies, it looks like a form of cloning to me. And what it says to me is, and then you lead to your point and we'll close. And what it says to me is that we're creating standards of beauty and not identifying our own. We ain't even identifying what's beautiful about ourselves. We just trying to get in the mold of what the standard is.
Yeah.
I ain't conforming no more. If I'm box squat, SpongeBob, if I got the handles, if I got whatever I got, I'm working with that. If they give me garments to help me get it right, but I'm working with the package I got.
Yeah.
Okay, number one, my pretty doesn't demise yours.
Right.
So I can acknowledge myself being pretty and also acknowledge you're pretty and you're pretty and you're pretty. And I can also give you compliments. I am
That's
the most
rare.
complimentary person ever. I will walk in the street and not know you. Be like, hey, boo,
Yeah.
I see you in your
Yeah.
hair.
Yeah.
Whatever. That's
Yes.
me.
Yes.
Because I want to... Because I'm secure in who I am
Yeah.
as far as
Yeah.
that, as
That's
far
a
as
sign of that.
looks, I can acknowledge it when I see it. And I don't feel bad
Yeah.
about it. Also, I feel like because I am pretty, and I call it pretty
her.
privilege.
I do too.
I call
She
it pretty.
owning it.
I call it pretty privilege,
is.
right? But because I am, you aren't expecting me to then give you compliments
That's true.
and to acknowledge you're
That's
pretty.
true.
Just like Kimmy, when after she stopped talking, I said, "Your teeth are so beautiful." I couldn't stop looking at her
Yeah.
teeth,
Yeah.
and I had to tell. It's like I can't hold it in. I have to let it out and tell you I love whatever
You got to
it is.
feel
right?
good about you to be doing that.
I
though.
have to, right? So that's number
Right.
one. Number two, my imposter syndrome, I define it as doing too much. And when I say doing too much, it's not a doing too much like physically, it's this internal doing too much. You're doing too much to prove who you are, to prove your worth, to prove something, to validate yourself.
That
right?
I like that.
Yes.
You doing too
You're doing too much.
You doing too much.
Yes, I actually feel imposter syndrome because I don't feel like an adult. And I will tell you why. I'm the youngest in my family. My cousin is 10 years older than me. My other cousin is 7 years older than me. My sister is 6 years older than me. I'm 44. But I always feel like I'm the baby, I'm the child, right? They all have kids that are between 17 and 27, right?
Do you have any children?
I don't have any kids.
Okay.
I am single.
Okay.
I'm not in a relationship, nothing. Girl, if you know somebody.
No, we like investing for all of us.
So, so I probably have maybe one or two friends that are my age that are either that are in the same place that I'm at.
Okay.
But all of my friends, my closest friends, my kind of far away, whatever, they either are married with kids,
Okay, I could see it.
married, but they don't have kids, or not married, but they have kids. Women. I have a few male friends that are not married and don't have kids, like 2, right? That I've considered friends, not love interest, whatever. So I feel like I'm not an adult, even though these bills are very adultish, right?
Right.
But I feel like I'm not an adult because I can't speak to that lived experience of being a mother, of being a wife, of even at this point being a girlfriend for longer than a 6-month period of time, right?
Yeah.
So that is where I feel it, because I'm like, I can't really relate to that, right? I'm living in this house with my mom, and I'm taking care of my mom, and I'm taking care of the house, but I'm still not really an adult.
You
right?
are, but it's amazing how the word convincing, convincing. It's a
And now-
self-convincing.
And now I'm at 44. I'm starting perimenopause, right? I don't know now if I want to have kids because
sound
I don't want to be
sister.
60
Yeah.
with teenagers.
Yeah, yeah.
Shit, I want to enjoy my life.
Yeah, yeah.
But if somebody came into my life and they wanted kids, I'd be like, sure, okay, let's do this. But I don't want to be a single parent at this point, right?
Yeah.
So now it's like, now I'm that girl.
Yeah.
I'm that woman
We're gonna stop
now.
that. No, we are not.
But do you understand?
I hear 100% what you're
Yes.
saying. I think that on a good note and on a time
Yes.
note, let's end. I'm starting an anti-shame campaign. I need the sisters to join in with me. I'm gonna start promoting it and speak more about it during this production of the documentary. But let's close on a note. I won't shame you. I won't shame me. We shouldn't shame anybody.
That's good.
Let's say that. I won't shame you. I won't shame me. We shouldn't shame anybody.
Yay.
That was good. That was good.
Good stuff.
That was great.